Hi, it's Simon. Trust me, Notion can be simple when you know how to get started right. You've probably clicked on this video because you're interested in finding simpler ways to stay organized and keep the overload of information that turns up in the modern world in order so you can focus on what matters. And for a long time for me, that has been about using a digital second brain. Notion is the perfect place to do this if you know how. But many of us can get either overwhelmed by the complexity of using Notion or just don't want to put the hours in to build what we actually need within it. So today, I'm going to give you a tour of my simplified Notion Life OS, a complete second brain template that keeps things simple but gives you everything you need. We'll address what makes a good digital second brain and why you might want to use it, the strategies and systems that I think you need to have up here so that this thing actually works for you, and I'll give you a step-by-step tour of the exact process I would follow to get started in this template. And yet, you've either clicked on this video because you want to begin that onboarding process, or maybe you want to go and check out a simplified Notion Life OS, which is available at bettercreating.com. Click on the link to find out more. I'm currently offering a discount on this newly updated version. Another reason to stick around in this video, I finally solved time tracking in Notion. It genuinely is brilliant. So if you ever bill people by the hour or just want to keep track of the amount of time you do on tasks, I've solved it and it's in this system. And if you are someone that's downloaded this, I will be adding a bunch of other unlisted videos that you'll be able to follow via the playlist in the description, which will just give you even more detail into how to use everything in this system. But for now, let's get started with the basics. Okay, first up, let's just talk about what is essential to put in a second brain. And perhaps this might show you why starting with something that someone's built and then adapting it can be a lot easier. Well, you're going to want a place to drop tasks, and you're going to want a place where you can put projects and life areas so that you can link tasks to those to organize them. I also want to make sure that I am ensuring that all of the tasks and actions I take are going towards the actual goals that I want to achieve. So I want somewhere to set goals and do some yearly planning based on actual reflection on what's happened. Personally for me, a second brain is also a place to hold knowledge. So we're going to want somewhere to put all of our notes and clippings and be able to link that back to what we're doing. So we're going to want some form of notes and clippings database. And finally, I think good habits and personal reflection on what you're doing is going to be key to making sure that you actually build the processes in how you act that make a second brain like this work for you. So I want to put that in too. So I've added a habit tracker and a prompted Stoic journal to help with that. Now, on a day-to-day and weekly basis, we also need to think about how we keep on top of using this and managing it. That's going to require two key tools, in my opinion: an inbox and an automated system that reminds me to check things like projects and life areas so that I can keep track of them. And that is an automated weekly review system. So there's quite a lot to build there. So if we jump into this, you'll see that that's exactly what I've got in here. And perhaps the only other thing that's in this is a calendar and a year summaries thing, which just really allows us to view things across the year and see things like tasks on a calendar. Now, I'll jump into showing you some of these key areas in a moment, like my life areas and the way that we can navigate around this template. But first of all, let me just show you really quickly how you would go and duplicate a template of any sort into your workspace. So we would jump to the web, find the template that we wanted, and when you find it, it will look a bit like this. It looks like a website, essentially. This is the public-facing version that you would get access to. We're going to jump into the top right corner, click Duplicate, and click Leave Site. It will then open it in Notion, and you'll see we've arrived with a place to be able to drop it in. I'm going to select my workspace and I'm going to add to private. You can see the template is being added, and it's going to turn up down here. This is where we were talking and working a moment ago. And if we just wait for a moment, there it is. The template has been added to your workspace. So we can then click on it and we have our very own copy of it. And I could rename this as I want. You'll also find within my templates, there's always a way to jump to the full guide for that template. That has just leapt us over to here, the online guide, full guidelines to using Notion and a template like this within this system, methodology, video guides. I mean, it's all in there. So a template like this does require a little bit of time and investment. Of course, any system like this won't just work out the box for you, but I've got it as close as I can. And so if you are downloading a template from me, I really recommend following the onboarding notes, the guides, and starting with a section at a time and building up. It will be worth it. I no longer worry about building or adjusting my system. It just saves me hours in the day. And as you'll see here, we've got a start here view, which kind of explains the basics and links to that online guide on the website. And I always keep my online guides online so I can update them as I go. So in the future, you can always make updates and improvements following what I'm doing as Notion keep releasing new features. I'm going to now jump to my existing version here in my Better Creating workspace to demo for you how to get set up. First of all, in my system, I would say with Notion, it's worth remembering that you don't always have to navigate using the sidebar. Like this is my Better Creating workspace that you might think looks rather similar, but I use these kind of systems to jump home, jump to pages, and jump back because, well, if you look in a sidebar, you can see things in kind of folder form, but you just end up with endless listed items. So building navigation into these is really worthwhile. So here we've got navigation both in sections on the home page, so I can open up a view and see views of my tasks, but we can also click on this directly to jump to a dedicated dashboard. The whole system is built with a series of dashboards and databases. So for example, my habits dashboard has views of my habits database and my days database, where we can quickly and easily add a new day and be able to do things like log reading to the current day. So I've tried to make this a kind of app-like experience, another reason why you might consider being more of a user in Notion than a builder. The way I've built it is if we jump down to System at the bottom of the homepage, you'll see all of the system databases down the bottom here, which have my life areas, this new timesheet database for time tracking we'll get to later, everything else. But this is quite an overwhelming view of databases. This is the only place you don't want to delete things because everything else within the system are just linked views. This little arrow means it's a linked view to that original database or page. So down here, you'll see the original pages. These are the ones we're jumping to for, say, the dashboard views in the system. Now, if you want to clear sample data from something like this, you would jump into the system databases and you can just go through and delete anything that you don't want. So let's say we didn't want this example deadline. I could click things within this view and click delete, and then we just have nothing in there. And it will just be a way for you to either delete or rename example projects if you just want to start from scratch. There's not much in there, but it's just helping you see what I'm doing. I would suggest with the habits that you actually just rename these to what you want them to be and rename the buttons and keep that simple, but that's for another video. Let's talk briefly about navigation. And actually, I want to start by doing that on my phone. So if I jump now into Notion, you'll see this is a version of the Life OS. I've formatted it so that you have quick buttons to add new tasks easily. And you'll see that this is the menu that we saw on the main page of Notion. So if I jump back here and open that up, it looks just the same. The reason these items though are on the right is to give us an easier way to navigate on iPhone. So if we go down here, rather than opening these tabs up, I can simply jump into my life areas and navigate on the page easily, jumping into pages. And then you can always jump home by pressing that button. So I just think it transforms how to navigate on iPhone. That's what these circles are on my system. And it's another way of building in Notion so that you don't have to use the slightly more tricky navigation on their sidebar at times. So let's now focus on the essentials of what you first do to add things into a second brain and get everything up here into there. The first step to get started with a second brain is to think about organizing your life into areas. So I'm going to jump into the life areas dashboard, and here you'll see I've got a couple of examples: family and relationships, career and business. I've also added a top of mind area, and this is simply a database view where I can link anything else, tasks, habits, notes, to that life area, and so that I will see it in the actual homepage of it, either within these views here or within the new tab views here, where you can jump across and see items that that are related to things. So there you go, there's a related project that's already in there. Now, this system, if we jump back to the areas dashboard, is all based on Tiago Forte's method, the Para method. So we jump to the web. Here's a very good blog written by him on the Fort Labs website about this organization system. It's really, really powerful. And what you'll see is essentially he's breaking it down into 4 areas: projects, so short-term efforts that you want to follow; areas, long-term responsibilities; resources, that's topics and items that you want to keep for the future, that's our notes and clippings; and archive. And for me, in my system, that is simply anything we don't want to have to look at, we archive so that we keep it clean and simple. So back in Notion, I could quite easily, if we go, let's say, to projects, which is our short-term efforts, we'll see we've got a side hustle ready to go in this view. And if we ever want to kind of finish it, we could mark it complete and archive, and it disappears from that view, and you would find it in the archives view. Easy. So let's focus on life areas. And the first thing that I'm going to do is add a few new life areas. Again, I've tried to make this feel like an app experience. So there's simply a button saying new area. We'll click it, it will pop up inside Peak, and we can call it what we want. For me, that's going to be maybe content creation. That's an ongoing thing that I'm doing. You'll see it's automatically formatted the weekly review system that I've built to show that I want the area to remind me to review it every 7 days. And you'll see here is a report. It says it was last reviewed today because it's set it to today, and then it will be next due for review on August 7th. Simple as that. And then down here, we've got another view, which we can open this up a bit or open the full page to see of everything that is linked. And so each of these views within this page are filtered so that it is linked already to this area. That's how I've built this system. That also is true of this way of viewing it in tabs, if you'd rather use the tab views at the top. So if we now jump back, we've now got our new content creation area. So that's the first step. Create all of your life areas so that you can sort information into it. Okay, great. You've now got your life areas. It's time to get everything that's in here into this digital second brain so that you can organize it and have a clear head. So let's start with that. So this next step is called the brain dump. Lovely. We're going to take everything that's in your mind and drop it into the system. There are a couple of ways you could go about this. You could do this by dropping it into the inboxes. We have a place to drop new tasks in here, which would be very easy to do. You just click new task and then you would put it in here. So let's say this one was, let's say it's that. Now in my system, there are a couple of basics that I would want to do. I would simply write whether you want it to be important or urgent or both. And this system uses these checkboxes and then a formula that allows you to give it a priority using the priority matrix by Stephen Covey. Now, a priority matrix is one of the key strategies, Bing, that you need to keep in mind, I think, when you want to get organized. And it allows us to break tasks into 4 areas. Important and urgent, the stuff you need to do right now. Important but not urgent, these are times you need to schedule deep work sessions to be able to get things done. Urgent but not important, maybe that's something you can delegate or put back in your system to get done when it needs to be done by someone else. And if it's not urgent and not important, delete it. Focus on what matters. So in this system, we can set that. And of course, you can do things like link it to a due date. Let's say you actually wanted to do it on a day. It would show up. You can set a deadline. A deadline would be the absolute latest hard stop that you need to get something done. And you can also then, of course, link it to a project or an area. But I would suggest there is a better way to go about brain dumping than using the inbox. So once it's dropped in, the way to filter something from the inbox is either to mark it as complete, so it's done, or most ideally, you would change the status to do, and it will drop it into the tasks view, which you would find over here. If we go into our tasks view, we'll then see the items either listed by the date, if they've been set by that, or we would come down and look at absolutely everything else, and you could see things listed within that view. I've got a bunch of different task views within here that you can select from. There's a weekly calendar view where you can see things. But in all honesty, you probably don't need to use all of these. So I've created this in a way that allows you to delete any views you don't need. And you can also always reinstate some when you want to. I really like this priority matrix view, which if I want to quickly move things between it, I can just jump in, change if it's urgent or important, and it will move along to the next view. It's a nice way to view things. You know, maybe you're keen on just using this, you could move this up and just see it by that view. But yeah, lots and lots of ways to view tasks within there. If you ever want to delete or add a view to this, you can simply click on it here and delete the view. It will be fine. Because if you want to create a new one, you could just go new view, doesn't matter what you click, and then just find the task database, and you'll see all of the views I've already created that you can then draw upon. So maybe I just want to pick all live tasks and it will show it. There's the priority matrix view, there's an overdue view. You have plenty of ways you can drop these in. So it's very, very simple for you just to choose the view you want to put in. We've even got this option which allows you to tag things by analog day if you just want to use it as a kind of really quick way to set the days you want to work on for the current week. But again, if you don't like that view, you just delete it. Because all of those views are created in the main system view down the bottom in the database. All of those views are listed within here, so they're all built and you can't really break it. However, I would actually propose that the best place to do your task dump, your brain dump, would be in life areas. Go into life areas and then you can work by life area. So I can go into career and business and then start to add new tasks within here. I can add a goal, I can add a project, and we'll move on to goals in a moment. Let's say we added a new task. If I do that here and say, let's say it was quarterly planning for Q3, that's going to be important work. I'm not going to set a due date, I'm just going to leave it like that. And that means then that we will see within tasks under this career and business area, it's listed ready to go. This is the best way to do it because you then know that all of your tasks that you've added will always be linked to the area that you're looking at. You'll also find them in this view here. And when they're done, you can mark them as complete. So that would be step one, dropping everything in a brain dump in. So that's the basics of a brain dump of tasks. But let's look at two key strategies that are really useful to hold to make a system like this work. And that is about using a weekly review and the power of projects and areas to group tasks, meaning that you don't just have to have one massive task list. So if we look in here, you'll see in life areas, I have reports that are for the weekly review. It shows me that it was last reviewed on the 26th of June and it was next due for review on the 3rd of July, which was ages ago. And so it allows me to mark it as reviewed. So if I click mark as reviewed, it updates it. That's all it is. So the process should be that each probably week, you want to have a section of your calendar which is marked purely for doing a weekly review. I do mine on a Friday and I spend about 30 minutes going through my second brain and looking at everything that's due. So this allows you to jump into the life areas and the projects that you've set up, which we'll look at in a moment, and just check what you've got, you know, what tasks are there, what, if any notes you need to add, any new things you want to put in there. And when you're happy, you can then just simply mark it as reviewed, and it will jump forward from the last review date by the number of days you've set as the frequency. So the system reminds you, but you still have to build the habit, and that is the key. So if we jump into projects here, let's look at how this due for review section works. It has a filter simply, which is that this is review due is ticked as overdue. So when you create a new project within this system, we might do that by clicking here. And when we add it, you'll see that a couple of things have happened. We've got a review frequency. If we just open this as a full page, we can name it. I can set start and end dates. This will just allow you, for example, to set a start date, include an end date on it, which might be for the month. And that will mean that you'll see it in a timeline view, which is very nice. We've got the review frequency set. And if you move down to this view over here, you'll also see you can link it to a current year, and you can relate it to any goals that you want to link it to, which we'll look at in a little moment setting up. We then have an automatic review due date set, which is it's due for the 7th of August because that is exactly 7 days after when we've created it. If you did want to change that, you can just jump and find last review and change that to a different day if you want it to be on a certain day, and that will update the dates. Easy. So there you go. We'll also see we've got existing tasks listed within here, which you can either view within the project here, or you can view it within the content page. And that is simply to say, set yourself a review frequency and start and end dates. We've done that. And create project overview and objectives if you want to, which you could put in there, and mark complete. For example, let's say those were your objectives. That would mean you can then start adding new tasks into the system. And again, you can do this any way you want. Just click new, drop a new task in. This might be, and all the usual stuff would go in there. It then means you've got these views of tasks that are created within it. You can see where they are, if they're done, if they're not, and they'll also show up within this page down here. So you can also kind of move things around to different places as you need to view them. That is how I would be setting up and thinking about using projects. And the great thing about this system is if we jump back and then we look in the projects view and project timeline, you can then see that everything is listed within here as well against the timeline of the month. It's allowing us to track it through the year. Same goes for life areas. These are just set to be reviewed every week. And if you want to change that, you just jump in and change your life areas to be every 14 days or whatever you want it to be. And it will just update that as you need so that you can track it. These are all reports showing you detailed information. And if you ever find yourself in this kind of weird system database view, you can just click back here on the breadcrumbs to jump back to the main page. So there you go, the weekly review, a valuable system to be using in your life areas and projects. But without a clear focus of a North Star on where you want to be taking your life, all of this stuff can still be busy work going nowhere. But let's talk about the next key element that you should do as part of your brain dump. And that's actually dropping in some key goals from which to work. So this is kind of an overlap between getting set up with your brain dump, but also making sure you do the most important thing I think anyone should do, which is setting goals and then linking tasks, projects to those goals. So let's do some goal setting. If we jump to the goal setting dashboard, I have a full yearly planning system. Now, I think that good goal setting is probably the biggest thing I learned in the last couple of years that's had the biggest impact on my life. Not just writing a goal and trying to hit it, but doing it based on clear reflection. And so in this system, you'll see I've got stages that take you through it. So we can start by building our wheel of life. Now this wheel of life view, if I maybe just move this across a little bit, you'll see is an ability to rate yourself and your satisfaction levels on areas of your life. So by changing these numbers, you'll see that they move up and down the table of life over here. Or you could look at the wheel of life. Now, these are using Notion charts. It is worth recognizing that in a free Notion account, you'll only get access to one chart within the system. And so this one is really an option that if you want to use it, you could either use this one or the one in the habit tracker in this template. But for most people, it's not important. The chart is really just a visualization tool. So you'd work through and set your wheel of life, and then you can kind of see the areas that you want to work on. Mine is money management, free time, and personal growth, for example. That would be the area I would want to focus more attention perhaps on because the others are going quite well. We've then got a complete your yearly reflection. This allows you to start a yearly reflection. You would click this button to generate a new one, which is one of these, right? Let me just delete that. And then you can jump into it, call it the year you're reflecting on. Let's say it was 2025. And this is a prompted template that helps you reflect on the year and plan the next one. Now, I won't go into complete detail on this process because there's a full separate guide video on yearly reflections and goal setting if you want to dive into it. But the headlines you can work through. You'll see there is a view of the year's database where you can be adding new events, significant events within the year that you work through. You can categorize them. And then this would allow you to then identify what is a win or a loss. So you can set them as losses or wins. And this will just keep on top of, going back through your calendar and seeing where you're at. And then you would from here work out what was the real stuff that moved the needle. And then you can start to work forward with some journaling prompts. And finally, you can then go and set your goals using this dream setting system. But yeah, I won't go into loads of detail on that because if you really just want to start really clean and not worry about any of that, the simplest way to do it is just create some new live goals. So the way we would do that in this system, I'm actually going to show you how to do it briefly on the mobile view of the page. So I would click into Notion and go and find the goal setting page. I want to click add a new goal, and we can label the goal. I like to write goals as something that I've already achieved, and they should be believable enough to get there, but inspirational enough to really take you somewhere. So how about we say, that's one of my goals, to create a knowledge-based productivity course that works regardless of the apps that people use, right? I can link it to a year. I can give myself a deadline for when I might want to get there. Let's say that my deadline for that, I think I'm going to make it for the new year. So why don't we make it the 1st of January? And then within this view, I'm able to list any obstacles or solutions that might come up for it. And if I just close up these views for now, you'll also see down the bottom, I'm then able to add milestone tasks. Now, this is a view of the task database where I can link tasks directly to the goal, a bit like you were doing in life areas. So if we click a new milestone task, I could call this one, let's say that was one of them. I can set myself a due date if I want to get it done. Maybe it's that I want to get this done next week, and I'm going to set that as important and urgent, for example. I can then skip back to the goal and I'll see it listed within that view. So if we look back on the desktop version under live goals, we'll see it's created within that view. And if I click into it, I'll also see, if we open that up, the tasks as I need them within the workspace. You can adjust things as you need. And if you want your views to look slightly different, you can move stuff around, but there it all is. Milestone tasks linking to your goals. The power of this, of course, is that you can also then link these tasks to specific projects. And there you go. Website development is going to be part of that. So that's goal setting in this template. But before you go, I want to show you that brilliant new system I built for tracking time for tasks and projects. It's super powerful. Also, make sure you get subscribed here if you haven't for more great productivity tools and tech around Apple and all the rest on the channel to build your perfect system. And I will, of course, drop links to the playlist to go deeper into the rest of this template, which will cover the areas we haven't, such as the habit tracker, the journal, notes and clippings and calendar, all of that in future videos. So make sure you do check those out below. But let's look at time tracking. Okay, so let's jump into my projects view. First of all, you can see here there is a time tracking report on a project saying that no time is tracked yet. Remember that website development project that we set up? Let's make it live. We can do that by just dragging it over into here, and we can see it's in there. We can then jump into our website development page and maybe open it as a full page because we want to work on it. And by the way, if you find your projects are a little bit too squished, remember there's a good trick with Notion to go top right and view a page as full width. And it just gives you a little bit more space to work. So there is our page, and we've got our tasks in here. Let's say we wanted to get started. I'm going to move it into in progress and jump into the task. And you'll see, if we again open this page up, within the actual task, we've got a timesheet and a button that says track time. So this timesheet is a view of the timesheets database that we've got here. You don't need to worry too much about that, but I'm going to just show you that for what it is. If we click this button, it will start a working session on this task. So there's the task and the session is reported as in progress, which is great. We've started work on it. Another way to do that would just be to add a new item and click start work. But either way, the session is in progress. So we now have this counting, and I'm just going to give myself a minute to let this work and show you where this gets reported. So if we go back to our project database, using the back clicks for this is really good. You'll see that we have a report in here. This is a big old report that I've coded, so you don't need to worry too much about that. But again, another reason to realize why downloading an existing template and adapting it to your needs can be so useful. But this is essentially going to give us a report on how long we've spent on the project. But it's actually rolling up information from each task that is related to it. So the report on the project will count all the time sessions on the task. If we go into the task, we can also have multiple times to track. So if I open this back up and we end work, it's counted the duration as 2 minutes. And so the total time on the task is reported as 2 minutes. If we then start a new time, it will just add a second session. And this is what allows you to pause and restart on work that you're doing. It's super, super powerful. So you can do it in units of work rather than by the actual task itself. So we would select all of that. If I end work within a minute, it just says it's not relevant. But you'll now see, if we go back to the project, you can see that this is tracked as 2 minutes. And this now on the project is also tracked as 2 minutes. So if we started another area and made it in progress and started a session on that, we're then going to be adding the complete time tracked on this task and the complete time tracked on the other one. So let's say I completed that, I put it into done. This one is in progress. Okay, some time has passed. So let's now go and pause this work in progress. So we'll go into the task and quickly end the work. There we go. 3 minutes have been tracked on that, and we'll mark the task as completed and jump back. And now you can see 2 + 3 = 5. This is the power of time tracking using these epic formulas. I hope you enjoy them. And what's great is I can see that my tasks are completed on the website development. So I could also mark the entire project status as done. And as you'll see, now that it's marked done, it's disappeared from this view. It also allows me to then use my final part of the power method, which is archived and completed. And that is anything in this system that is completed or archived disappears into a filtered view where it has been completed. So that's my completed project. And if I want to find completed tasks within this, we're not actually deleting them from the databases. We're just simply filtering them out of all views in the system. So there's one place you can find them, which is in the system, and it's the completed task bin. So I can see in here, everything that has been marked completed within here is there. So if I want to clear that for any reason, I can select them all and delete them all. And we've cleared the task system. So those are the fundamentals of great task project management and goal setting in a second brain. In the next video of my series on this, which I will link in the playlist below when it's ready, I'm going to show you how to do things like track habits and easily log them in the system and see the results turn up on progress reports and habit cards. And we'll take a deeper look at my journal where we can do prompted work within it easily and quickly, including things like monthly reviews that really do go a long way to help you track everything. A full prompted system, which I really love in the template. And of course, there's a means to be able to use things like calendars to track our tasks and a bunch of other things within that template, which I just think is really powerful. And of course, you can manage them within your Notion calendar. Now, if you want to go deeper into your Notion journey and check out some of my other templates, there's more available at bettercreating.com. You'll find my complete Notion Life OS, which is apparently the system to use. There's now thousands of users of this, and I'm really proud of it. To give you a really quick overview, this is the same as the simplified Notion Life OS, but there's just more stuff added into it. We've added a full CRM, a content manager, we've got a weekly review dashboard, workout trackers, meal planners. It really is budgets and subscriptions, the complete system to get organized in Notion from scratch. Just a warning, this thing is big, and so it will require you, like any system like this, time to make it your own and understand how to use it. Click my face to get subscribed, and you should watch this video next for some of the key strategies I really think can help you with getting productive with a system like this, or watch this one down here for deeper, great ideas on making the most of Notion in other ways. Bye.